The clinical assessment of articulation and phonology was designed by Super Duper Publications and is a valid, standardized, norm-referenced assessment. The CAAP is used to evaluate the articulation and phonology of preschool and school-age children from ages 2 years 6 months to 8 years 11 months. It uses an articulation inventory as well as 2 phonological process checklists, which help speech-language pathologists to quickly assess 10 different phonological processes that are typical of normal acquisition, as well as typical of children with delayed phonological development. The different phonological processes the test covers includes syllable structure processes, including final consonant deletion, cluster reduction, and syllable reduction. Substitution processes, including gliding, vocalization, fronting, deaffrication, and stopping. And assimilation processes, including prevocalic voicing and postvocalic devoicing. The CAAP assesses single words as well as sound production in sentences in school-age children. The CAAP does not assess vowels and diphthongs. The CAAP is incredibly time efficient as administration typically takes 15 to 20 minutes. The testing materials within the CAAP carrying case include an examiner's manual and a supplemental manual, a stimulus easel, phonological process checklists 1 and 2, articulation inventory score sheets, 5 CAAP pals, and several stickers. The CAAP pals and stickers are tactile elements that help children stay involved and interested during the test. Sam is 6 years old. She lives with her mother, father, and older brother and is in first grade. English is the primary language spoken in their home. Nobody else in Sam's family needed or received speech therapy. Sam was referred to speech therapy because she has been experiencing articulation issues. Sam should be 100% intelligible, but is only 70% intelligible with familiar listeners and 60% intelligible with unfamiliar listeners. Sam's mother reveals that teachers and classmates are having trouble understanding what Sam is saying, which is resulting in aggression. She often becomes frustrated and screams when she is unable to get her point across. Sam's friendships have been affected as well. Her peers have been walking away from Sam on the playground because they are unable to communicate with or understand her. Sam's family is worried about how these issues will affect her social and academic future. Sam's parents indicate a typical birth with no complications. Sam has been diagnosed with developmental apraxia of speech, a neurologically based disorder in the programming of sequential articulatory movements. Symptoms of this diagnosis include inconsistent phonological processes due to issues with the messages sent from the brain, resulting in oral motor deficits. Prior to administering the test, the clinician shares an introductory story with the child involving the 5 foam CAAP pals. This short story acts as a warm-up activity before beginning the actual assessment. The introductory story is known to be very useful with defensive and/or apprehensive children.
Okay.
This is Elba, and this is her friend Mac. Elba is the happiest elephant in the jungle because she and Mac are best friends. Elba and Mac are always together. They eat together, they play together, they even go fishing together, and after a long day, they rest together. Some days, Elba and Mac look at books together. Mac likes to point to the pictures and say what he sees. Elba loves to listen. Mac says, "That's a train and that's a fire truck." Elba and Mac want you to be their friend and look at some pictures with them. After you look at each picture, you say what you see. Elba and Mac will listen to you.
The first main subtest is the consonant inventory. In this section, the clinician will simply ask the child to identify different pictures. The examiner will point to a picture and say, "What is this?" If the picture fails to elicit the correct response, a prompt such as, "It says clap," will be given. If the child is unable to respond correctly following the prompt, The child will be asked to repeat the target word, and the examiner will say duck.
What is this?
Grasshopper.
What is this?
Fingernail.
What is this?
Helicopter.
The next subtest to be administered is the school-age sentence section. During this section, the child will repeat 8 different sentences. 2 repetitions are allowed for each sentence. Prior to each given sentence, the examiner will say to the child, "Say all the words I say." If the child is unable to say all of the words, the examiner will say, "Remember to say all of the words," and will then repeat the sentence.
Say all the words I say. The elephant plays her favorite computer game.
The elephant play her favorite computer game.
The mouse works on math at the chalkboard.
The mouse works on math at the chalkboard.
The third subtest includes the phonological process probes. If you suspect a child has multiple active phonological processes, it may be important to administer this section. This section targets focus on a specific process without having to listen for other sound productions. In this section, there are 2 to 4 pictures on a plate. They are labeled A, B, C, and D. The examiner will begin with plate A and point to the picture and ask, "What is this?" If the child does not respond correctly, say the target word and have the child repeat it.
What is this?
Fish.
What is this?
She.
What is this?
Cheese.
What is this?
Rake.
What is this?
Flag.
What is this?
Bread.
Okay. What is this?
Lemonade.
What is this?
Mouth.
What is this?
Knife.
What is this?
Fish.
What is this?
Dam.
Scoring for the CAAP is done using the 4-page CAAP articulation inventory record form and the 6-page phonological process checklist. The first subtest of the CAAP, the consonant inventory, is scored using the articulation inventory record. Correct responses are indicated with a check mark. Omitted or deleted sounds are indicated with a dash or a slash mark. Phonetic distortions are indicated with an X mark. And substitutions are written out using phonetic transcriptions. School-age sentences are scored differently. Rather than indicating individual speech sound errors, an entire word becomes wrong if one syllable is wrong. This is indicated by the administrator putting a slash mark through the entire word. The phonological process checklist contains 2 separate checklists. Checklist 1 is filled out after the test is over. The clinician simply uses the results of the articulation inventory to decide whether or not the client is making a particular speech sound error. Checklist 2 is used to record the client's responses to the phonological probes as the test is being completed. The clinician either checks off yes or no. After the CAAP has been administered, the clinician adds up all of the errors for the consonant singletons, cluster words, and multisyllabic words. The total number of errors in the school-age sentences are also counted and summed. To convert these raw scores to standard scores, the clinician finds the child's age norm in the tables in Chapter 6 of the test manual and follows the line to the right to find the standard score and confidence interval. Age equivalents are also listed in Chapter 6. When the phonological process checklist errors have been added up, they are converted to a percentage. This percentage determines whether or not a client is considered active. There is a percentage calculator located on pages 3 and 5 of the checklist record form. The test manual lists 10 specific steps for interpretation of results after scoring is complete.